Hello and welcome, this is Stonewarden, back with episode 6 of Let's Play Final Fantasy XI. I'm so sorry that I had to leave you hanging at the end of last episode. We just ran out of time. So we're in the middle of Sandorian Mission 3-3, which is Appointment to Juno, and the goal here is to climb to the top of Delkfutt's tower, kill an NM, and that NM will drop a key, a physical key that we will bring back downstairs to the bottom. Thankfully there's an elevator, and we'll trade that in to get a key item. We do all that just to get into the basement so that we can progress the mission, which we're looking for. We're looking for somebody who's lost in the basement. So rather than skip the climb, I wanted to make sure that we covered that with you. It's not hard at higher levels, so I've already leveled to 60 on Thief. There are some mobs that'll aggro us further up the tower, but here in the lower and the middle sections we didn't really have to worry about it. So I'm going to mark each floor with a marker. So on floor 1, you come in from Kufum Island, and basically you just follow the right hand wall until you get to that EF67 intersection where I have the up marker. So and at the EF67 intersection, we find a set of stairs, and we just travel up those. And at the top of the stairs, on the second floor, basically you just head straight east. You can follow the left-hand wall if that's easiest, but you head straight east and then south around to the set of stairs down there at I-9. Alright, the stairs at J10/I9 will take us up to floor 3. And at floor 3, what we're going to do is head north and then west until we get to the teleporter over at G6. That'll take us to the middle floors. That brings us to the 4th floor, and what we do with the 4th floor is we go south and then east and then north to the set of stairs and go past the teleporters because they take you back down. We're not going down, we're going up. And take care, depending on what level you're attempting this at, you will want sneak and invisible to get past the mobs if they will aggro you. I think I originally attempted this in the mid-30s and had no issues with a party of trusts. Also keep in mind that while most of the mobs will aggro sound or sight, these arcana type mobs, the pots and the dolls, will aggro to magic. So if you're here on a magic job and you're using the magical forms of sneak and invisible, they will aggro you for casting spells, so just be aware of that too. Alright, so at the steps we head up to the 5th floor. Alright, and on the 5th floor we see some more dolls, bats, again making sure you check the levels of everything so that you don't get surprised. And if you'd like to have your trusts out just in case, that's not a bad call at all. On the 5th floor there is a dead end directly to the south of us, so what we have to do is go west and then south and then go up those steps. So basically once we head west we can follow that left hand wall all the way around to the stairs that go up. And these stairs will take us up to floor 6. Alright, at the 6th floor, what we're going to do is we're going to head northeast and then through that tunnel to the teleporter that's over at J10. So basically follow the right hand wall. That brings us to the 7th floor, which is basically just one big room, and all we're doing here is just head northwest to the stairway over at G7. And this is the stairway that'll take us up to floor 8. And at the 8th floor, basically follow the left hand wall until you get to the stairway at J7. So we're just going to shoot straight east across this room. And that brings us up to floor 9. And what we want to do is get on the other side of floor 9, so we actually have to go south to a set of stairs at J10 and go back down a floor. And the set of stairs will take us back down to floor 8. Now this time at floor 8, we're in a different section, so all we're going to do is head west and go back up the stairs to floor 9, taking great care not to fall in this hole in the middle. Now the set of stairs will bring us back up to floor 9. The second time on floor 9, what we're going to do is we're going to head up to the teleporter at F6. Teleporter at F6. And this teleporter at F6 will take us up to floor 10, which is Upper Delkfutt's Tower. And that teleporter brings us to Upper Delkfutt's Tower. This teleporter here will take us back down to the middle. There's a grounds tome here if you want to change pages and do some leveling. But basically, this tunnel to the east will take us to the 2 NMs that we're going to need to tackle. Mimas guards the door, and Porphyrion is the one who contains the keys. Mimas can be problematic depending on what level you're at, because he uses 100 Fists, which is the monk special ability, and he will just go really hard on your tank, depending on again what level you are and what level your trusts are. So should not have any issue, being that I'm doing this at level 60. Again, I already did this at around level 40, 45, so that's probably a better target to get this done at. But anyway, so what we do is get our trust out, head down this hall, and see if we can tackle these 2 NMs. Mimas can drop a nice great axe for warrior, but did not for me that time. Alright, then we open up this Sermet door. That brings us to a room with several Gygas and the NM that we're after. Again, depending upon what level you're at, this room can be pretty problematic, as they will all link together or aggro you. So just be very careful when you come in here, and good luck. BG Wiki suggests pulling the NM out into the hallway. I think getting him over here to the corner is probably good enough. He won't last long. And that's the other issue with pulling him, is that he does ranged attacks, so they don't like to run when they can do ranged and just throw stuff at you. Alright, when you kill this NM, he will drop an item called a Delkfutt's Key. He did not because I already have it, but he will drop up to 6 if you don't have one. If someone in your party doesn't have one, he'll drop up to 6. That way, if you do team up with folks, everyone will get one. So he drops that Delkfutt Key. It's a 100% drop. And then what you do is you come over and trade that key to the elevator. And if you do that the first time, the Delkfutt Key becomes a key item. So you can see that there we receive a Delkfutt Key, and because it's in blue, that's the key item, and you end up losing the physical item. Depending on what server you're on, you can desynthesize, which I haven't gone into any crafting details at all in this Let's Play yet, and I'll probably push that off quite a bit. That's not my forte. But sometimes, depending on how busy your server is, there are higher level people who will farm that NM and desynthesize those keys for the crafting skill ups. So if you come across that situation, I suggest just asking to join and see if they'll let you grab an extra key, since they can only get one for themselves anyway. So anyway, good luck with that. Now, once you take the elevator down and get the key item, you basically have to run down a long staircase downward. So once you get to the bottom, you'll head east, and there is another Sermet door. So coming through that Sermet door brings us into Lower Delkfutt's Tower, and technically this is the basement. So if you'll notice, I've marked here, this is where you come in from the elevator. There is another entrance here to the basement, and that's from floor 1. However, you need that key item, Delkfutt Key, to open the door that brings you in. So you cannot get to this basement without having that Delkfutt key item. Only caveat to that being, if someone in here has the Delkfutt key item and you die outside the door, they can tractor you in, which again, as easy as that climb is with trusts and everything else, why not go ahead and get the key item? It took us about 20 minutes to do the climb, so yeah, why not go ahead and do that. Now once you're down here, basically you head east, and then you go to the middle door of the 3 on the east hand side, so that's L8 if you will, and then there's a little cutscene inside of there. Alright, that was the short cutscene, so you can either warp out from here, or I'll show you where you come in on the first floor. It's over this direction. That brings us to this entrance over here near F8 to a Sermet door, and this takes us back out into the first floor. Right. That brings us back to the first floor, and what we'll do is we'll head over to the book and warp back to Rulud Gardens to finish up this mission. And once back in Rulud Gardens, we just head right back to the embassy, and that should wrap it up. And 5,000 gil, which is nice, because it's like, hey, you're doing something to save the world, so also here's some money for you. After 3-3, the next mission is 4-1, Magicite. This one has a ton of travel and some other things that you need to do ahead of time. As I've said before, BG Wiki has a phenomenal walkthrough. First and foremost, I'll just go ahead and flag the quest. Okay, so we've traded a few crystals to the Conquest Overseer, and that filled up our rank points bar for rank 4. Then we'll head back to the embassy here in Juno and click that embassy door, and that gives us another cutscene to kick this mission 4-1 off. That cutscene gives us the Archducal Audience Permit, and if we just head straight north, then that should take us to the Audience Chamber. Alright, and all those suspicious looking fellas in there gave us a letter to Aldo, and that takes us to Lower Juno to seek an audience with Aldo. Alright, so Neptune's Spire is where the Tenshodo headquarters is located, but they're not going to let us in until we complete the prerequisite quest. The easiest way to do so is to go to the auction house and buy an invite. And there are typically invites on the auction house because you get to keep it and turn around and sell it back, so there's no reason not to sort of keep it going. So as soon as we walk in the door, there's an NPC here we should be able to trade this invite to. Okay, so that was easy. So we got the invite back, and then we got the key item members card. So what we'll do is we'll go back and sell this bag. I paid 5 for it. Let's sell it for a little bit under 4. That way the next person doesn't have to pay quite so much for one. Here we go. Alright, now once we have the Tenshodo members card, it's pretty easy. You just run back here to this door in the back. It says Neptune Spire, and we'll be able to go back into the back. All the way in the back, and there's some other NPCs, some other quests. We'll be back here again for various things, but currently we're just looking for the boss man, and there he is. And that's one of the more interesting cutscenes to me, because early on in the game it's one of the first glimpses that we get at a beastman. In this case it was a goblin that is running around town and talking and interacting with people in a sane manner. You know, we've only up to this point really seen beastmen out in the field that we've had to fight and survive, so a little bit of a different perspective. So we'll see where this one goes. Once we have the silver bell, we're supposed to head back out and grab a couple of other key items that are going to help us navigate these beastmen strongholds that we're headed towards. So next stop is Upper Juno for the Yagudo Torch. So we're supposed to talk to Paya Sabia in Upper Juno. Again, interesting cutscene with a goblin that's trying to plant flowers in Juno. And now we head back to Lower Juno. We're supposed to talk to Muckvix in the Muckvix's junk shop. And he's in the back, I think. Yeah, there he is. And that gives us the key item, the Yagudo Torch, which we need for something in Castle Ostrosia. We don't quite know yet. And also, in that cutscene, they allude to the Great War and the fact that an older generation, must have been some sort of Great War. We get a little bit more into that when we get into the Wings of the Goddess expansion. But, yeah, interesting stuff. So since we're in Lower Juno, we're supposed to speak with Sattal-Mansal to flag a couple of quests. So we need to get the Quadav Charm and the Quadav Augury Shell to get those other two key items. And those items drop from NMs in Beadeaux. They're not too far into the zone, so typically what I'll do is head there first, grab these two items, grab the book for Beadeaux, that way it's not too hard to travel back, and then turn those in for the key items before we get to really progressing with the quest. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, that brings us into Pasha Marshlands. There is a book warp for Pasha, but it's in the northeast corner, and Beadeaux is in the southeast corner down here, so we're just going to go there first. And down here in the southeast portion of the map is the zone line for Beadeaux. Alright, so we're after a couple of NMs for their drop so that we can get the key items that we need. I've marked on the map here. The first one is north of the entrance. It's very close. However, to get up there, you have to go all the way around, and I'll explain that in just a second. Or if he's within ranged attack, you can sort of hit him with a ranged attack or an ability to bring him down to where you're at and kill him pretty quickly. For the second one, the Headhunter down in the southeast, I've marked on the map entrance, so we have to go into the bottom level there in the entrance, get past some mechanics, and then we'll come out there in the exit, and then we're able to head up and around to get to where that second NM is. Alternatively, if you have friends that are higher level, they can come in here and kill and get the drops for you, and you can just sort of stand here and wait for the drops to hit the treasure pool. There he is. So you were able to grab him. Didn't take too long. Okay. So that Augury shell is one of the first items that we needed. Alright, now we'll head east and down into the cave. It's about H7, and we descend down into this little cave slash tunnel. We find another little section here, and if you take a right and then a right, we'll come into a room with a little thing called the mute, and then we'll take if you take a right and then a left, we go down to the afflictor. The way this works is pretty simple. If you walk into range of the afflictor, and you are not silenced, so silenced is a debuff where you cannot cast spells, so you have to touch the mute to silence yourself, and then you are able to walk past the afflictor without being afflicted. And the afflictor makes you run really slowly, gives you a curse. It's just sort of slows down the trip. So the best way to do it is to go ahead and get your sneak and invisible if you need it, head to the mute, get silenced, and then run past the afflictor. So if you're here on a mage job and that's what you're relying on for your sneak and invisible, then this can be a little bit problematic because then you're silenced. So you want to have some other sort of job ability, sneak, or some items. So we touch the mute. Now we're silenced, which is problematic for a mage, but if you have items or job ability, you're good to go. And then we run south, and then west. So this is the afflictor, and it doesn't affect us because we're silenced. So with that, we're going to continue on around and head back up to the surface. A couple of these other NMs drop some interesting items, so if I see one, I'll attack it. And there's a Faerie shield. Let's see what that is. Level 29 with lots of defense bonuses on it, so that's nice. Elemental defense bonuses. It's also a good shield for mages, so that's nice to have. And there's our second quest target. Davoi Headhunter. Alright. And there's the Quadav charm that we needed to get. A parrying knife. Okay, alright. Let's see what we got there. Hey, not bad. Parrying skill plus 10. And the reason that's pretty cool is that you have to proc a parry to skill up parrying. So that would be a nice one to have in your offhand to help skill up parrying. So that's cool. Okay, we got what we came for, and I don't see any other fun NMs on widescan, so I'll take this opportunity to warp back and get those key items that we need for Magicite. Alright, back in Neptune Spire, we're going to trade Sattal-Mansal the items that he requested. Alright, one of the last prerequisites that we'll need to accomplish is to get the Crest of Davoi, and for that we'll need a piece of curl meat. Hopefully there will be one on the auction house. So there we had one for 1100 gil on the auction house. Not bad. If there are none available on your auction house of your server, they're easily farmable. from a couple of different zones. But now we're going to take that and speak with Bauden up in Upper Juno, and then trade him the meat so that we can get the Crest of Davoi. Bauden's over here. It's a really odd cutscene. Not sure what's going on with his sister, but nonetheless, we got the key item that we came for. Next up is just a quick double check of maps, and then we'll head out to complete some of the quests. Good stuff. And now that I have all of the key items that we need for the Magicite mission, the Yagudo Torch, the Crest of Davoi, Silver Bell, the Rosary, the Matinee necklace, and I believe that's it. What we're going to do is head out to the 3 areas that we need to go to collect the Magicite, and since they overlap with the Limit Break 3 quest that we get from Matt, I'm going to go ahead and see if we can flag that and do both at the same time. Just make our lives a little bit more efficient here. Alright, and of the 3 areas, let's start with Beadeaux. And we're supposed to zone into an area called Qulun Dome, and it's down in the same tunnel that we entered last time we were here, except instead of taking a right, we take a left. So come down into the same tunnel and bust a Louie. And once through that door, come to this little crazy area, and there's our Magicite. Alright, that's the first one. And since we're here in Beadeaux, let's try to get the key item that we need for Matt's quest as well. Now for the Limit Break 3 key item, we have to come a lot farther into the zone. You're going to come all the way up here outside to the E6 area, and right where I'm standing there's a little tunnel that will take us down into the basement of this zone. But also be aware that on this side of the map the mobs are a little bit higher level than they are on the other side. I'm level 60 and these are conning easy prey, which means I'll get aggro and I have a fight on my hands here if I don't have sneak and invisible up. So just take care. And on this side of the map there are a number of mutes and afflictors, so just be aware of whether or not you have silence and are you coming up on an afflictor and all that good stuff. That brings us into Qulun Dome. and the mobs here are much higher level. They're around level 70 to 73. The ruby Quadav is technically an NM and also has true sound, which means even if you have sneak on, it will aggro. So the best course of action there is to just go ahead and avoid that mob at this point, just to make life easy. But basically, as we go in that room to the right, there should be a door that we can pop into, and then a little question mark on the other side of the room where we can grab the crest. And there it is. And we got the crest before death. Alright, so worst comes to worst. Just come in, head to the west side of the room. Grab that crest before you die, and get that free warp home. Alright, next up we'll try to get the items in Davoi. So for the Magicite portion of our trip to Davoi, we're headed over to G7. And at G7 there's a wall of dark arts, whatever that means. Click on that and head on through. It's pretty straightforward, just follow the cave. It'll bring us to another open area with yet another Magicite. So again, yeah, good stuff, good cutscene. Alright, let's head back out to Davoi and see if we can get the LB3 key item while we're here. To get the LB3 key item, we're going to have to do quite a bit of running around. There is a banishing wall between us and the zone line that we need to go into to get the key item, so there's a quest that we have to complete before we can cross over that banishing wall. First and foremost, what we have to do is head down to it's H11 and go into the Monastic Cavern there in H11, and then we'll come out of the Monastic Cavern about H9, and then we'll shoot over to that NPC and do that quick quest. From the entrance, basically head south until you get to this little valley, and you'll come to a place where right before you go into the creek, which is that way, and then you turn around and come this way and go north, and that swings you back around to the left. Alright, so down here at H11, the very southern tip of the map, you can zone into the Monastic Cavern. Once in the Monastic Cavern, keep in mind the mobs here are a little bit higher level than they are outside, and we're working our way to the exit up in the middle of I-8. So a couple different ways we can get there through those tunnels, but we're headed to I-8 to head back out to the surface. So just follow your map, make your way to this tunnel up here at H8, and it will take you all the way out to the outside. Alright, and as soon as you zone out, I recommend putting up Sneak and Invisible, because at the top of this hill there are some pretty high level mobs, I think in the lower to mid 70s, and I have had some aggro from a long way away. I came out, I guess, at the wrong time. One was looking, and he linked a whole bunch of bad guys to come get me. So again, you just want to sneak up, invisible up, and then head east. And the Banishing Gate is to the south, Wall of Banishing. But again, being a new, fresh character, we don't have the key item to go through that. So what we need to do is come up here and talk to this NPC and get that key item. Uh-oh. 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 That went terribly. Well, that was pretty unfortunate, wasn't it? Should have had trusts out, and also should have had re-raise. I have been pretty slack about having re-raise up, just because the penalty for traveling is so much less than it used to be. So much easier to get around. I have been, like I said, really slack about keeping re-raise up. I don't even have an item or a scroll on me, so I probably should start doing that. But nonetheless, once you have touched the Wall of Banishing, and then you come back and talk to this NPC, he'll give you the quest. And the way the quest works is we take our white orb and we dip it into 4 ponds. One is not featured on the map. I'll show you where that is. But pretty straightforward. You just have to run around to the different ponds on the zone, touch them, and your orb will change colors. Here's the Howling Pond at H10. And white orb becomes a pink orb. And here at E8, there's the Screaming Pond. Sounds terrifying. Pink orb becomes a red orb. That brings us to L9 and the Wailing Pond. And the red orb becomes a blood orb. Right, to get to the last pond, it's not featured on the map. You'll have to go south to J10 and enter the creek, and then follow the creek all the way north, and it's right off of the creek at the northern part of the map. So a little bit out of the way, a little hidden, but aren't you glad you tuned in to get that secret? So down here J10 to enter the creek, and then head north. Okay. And all the way here at the top of the map at H6, head east in this little area that's not on the map, and we find the Groaning Pond. Alright, and the blood orb becomes a cursed orb, and now we are also cursed. It also affects your movement speed a little bit, so I did not bring any holy waters. So I'll see if I can get a trust to Kursna it off of me. And now that we have been to all 4 ponds and converted the white orb into a cursed orb, we'll take it back to the NPC that gave us the quest so that he'll give us the key item to go through the wall of banishing. Alright, good stuff. Crimson Orb is what we need to get through the wall of banishing. However, the mobs are still going to be around that wall, so just to be safe, I'm going to get the trusts out, and we may have to clear ourselves some room here. Alright, now on this side of the Monastic Cavern, there's a big room with almost a handful. There's like 4 different NMs that could be up in this room, all or most of which are true sight, which means they'll see through invisible. So the name of the game here is just going to be to do our best to avoid the Warlord, the Hex Spinner, the Overlord, and then the other Overlord, Beadeaux, which is probably the nastiest of the 4. And there's some good loot up there, which I think all those NMs are up. So just stick to the left-hand wall, stay away from that hill up there, and should be good. We sort of sneak into this little tunnel over here in the northwest corner. And just be careful. I have seen people drop down here before they grab the question mark and have to go all the way back around. So there's the Orcish Crest that we need for Matt. And at this point, I'm just going to warp out so that we can head over to Astrosia. And Castle Astrosia is the third and final of the Beastmen strongholds that we need to visit for both Mission 4-1 and Whence Blows the Wind. So we come to Marifatad Mountains, and on the eastern side of the map, about the middle, right there where it says Drogoroga's Spine, that's the entrance for Castle Astrosia. So we'll head that way. If we follow this spine all the way to the eastern side of the zone, right to where it ends, and then keep going, there's the door for Castle Astrosia. There's a book right when you walk in, so be sure to grab that. And as you come in, you'll head east. And if you've never been here before, it is just a mess. Getting around, there's trapdoors, passwords, you name it. It's an absolute nightmare. It's not straightforward at all. For the limit break portion of the reason that we're here, there is a door on the 4th floor that requires a password. That password resets every Vanadil day, so it's nice to start this earlier in the day. 6 a.m. now, and that way you don't have to get all the way to the top and have had the password reset. Right there is our first word. This is where you get the password. Password number 1. That brings us to our first trap, trick, whatever you want to call it. It's right here on the map at I-8. So we came in over there where the book is, headed east, grabbed the first password, and now we're at this this door. There are 2 handles at the brass door. You really do have to stand in the middle of the game. It says you're out of range. If I try to flick it from over here, it says you cannot reach target. So you stand in the middle, and then tap it, and then run. There's usually a little bit of lag between the time the lever goes off and the trap door opens. So this will either open the door or open a trap door, which will drop you down somewhere you don't want to be. So you always hit it and then run. And we did it. So you head on through and then head on up to the 2nd floor. And right here on the map, this is floor 2. It's right at I-10, HI-10. But I-10, there's a hidden door. You come in here and make note of how these levers are situated. So this one's situated left one down, and the other 3 are up. So this is the combination for the door, again, for today, over here on the west side of this map. And we'll need that in a little bit, assuming we can get there quickly. Okay, so here on the map, floor 2, again, is another password for the door. This is password number 3. We have to actually go back downstairs to get the second password. So see how it says there, the third word is Doozoo. So we have to remember that. Yeah, I hadn't done this in a while. Totally did that out of order. So again, when you come up from the first floor, you'll want to take a right and then come north this way so that we can go get password number 2, or the second word of the password. Probably be a more accurate way to put it. And the reason for that is that the map shows it as a clear pathway, but portions of this castle are blocked by these big pillars. So you have to go around sometimes. That's okay. There's another one there. And this brings us outside. Careful not to go over the edge. Not certain if you can or if you can't, but you might be able to. And that would be a sad day. And if you just keep coming north, bring you back inside the castle. And this path actually brings you down into basement 1. And here on the map in basement 1, this is where we'll get word number 2 of our password. Snap a pic, write that down, remember it, whatever you have to do. I also believe this is the floor where you go into the altar room to get the Magicite. So since we're down here and we have half a day left, should be enough time to get up to floor number 4 now that we have all 3 passwords. Let's see if we can grab the Magicite down here and just get greedy. See if we can get both done at the same time. What's the worst that could happen, right? More running? Yeah. And just keep heading straight. We'll zone out. Well, that was sad. Like the other areas and the other zones, you just keep heading straight forward. It'll bring you to a big open area with another Magicite. Well, that was pretty ominous. couple of cutscenes there. One, the history of Windhurst, and then one from the Shadow Lord. So I think we get that Shadow Lord one after our third Magicite, wherever it may be. So, yep, certainly seems we have an enemy that's materializing, and we'll have to head back and see how the storyline progresses. And since the book warp is a thing, I find it easier to just warp out sometimes and come back to the book rather than run all the way back around the castle. So just warped out, ran back. Alright, so we have the 3 passwords. We have the lever combination for the door. So what we're going to do now is head up to the 4th floor and use that password to drop down to where we need to be to get the Yagudo crest. So you're going to come down this way south on the map. Come over, up and around to this intersection. And then head straight west, and that'll take us to the door with the lever combination. Keep in mind, past this door, the mobs get higher level than they have been so far, so you may need sneak in invisible. And in the room, the combination was 1 down, 3 up. So we did that. Sort of slide through, pop our spectral jig, and away we go. This floor is pretty straightforward, just head straight through. Keeping an eye on the time as well, because at 2400, well, which is 00, it's going to roll over and the passwords will change. So we need to get through the password door before those passwords change, or we have to head back down and get all 3 words again. And we're headed towards this door here. However, to open that door, you have to light one of the torches, and the torches are in the 4 circular rooms in this floor, and the problem there is that there is a bit of a delay. So we've gotten lucky. Somebody has killed some mobs up here, so I'm going to, let's see if it's up. 18 seconds on Flea. You will need some speed boost, either Flea boots. There are some shoes that will give you running speed, some sort of movement speed, or a friend to go through and help you with the door. But either way, pop a Flea, light the torch, and then quickly get to the door. If you just walk standard speed, you won't make it on time. Someone on the other side of the door can flip this handle and open it for you. But anyway, okay. So in the middle of this circle here, this sort of red circle on this wooden panel is a trap door. And what we want to do is activate that trap door by using the password that we've collected so far. Boom, dropped us down to the lower floor. Now, this is the diciest part of the mission, and just like in Beadeaux, there is a true sight mob in here. It's an NM, and it usually stands right on the question mark that we want to collect. Now, my hope is, since someone had killed those mobs in there, maybe they are on the same mission, and it looks like they've cleared this out. So you run up here on top of this little pedestal here, and there's a big question mark here. And there are no, this is normally full of mobs, so I've gotten incredibly lucky. And we got the Yagudo crest, so there you go. Good stuff. Let's do Matt first. Just run down here and speak to him. Give him the crest that we have. Oh, isn't that nice? He believed in us all along. Level limit's now 65. Good deal. We'll be doing some leveling in between episodes. Alright, that gives us the airship pass, which back in the day was huge, because you could ride the boat from Juno to any of the individual nations, and then also over to Kazam, which is another settlement. But to wrap up the mission, we head back to the Sandorian Embassy and speak with the NPC here, and that should do it. Rank 5. Alright, wonderful. That ends today's episode. We knocked out Mission 4-1 and Limit Break 3, both of which are long missions that nicely overlap, so we were able to do both of them. I'm so glad you were here. I have plenty of work to do between now and the next episode. I want to do a little bit of leveling, get to 65. Before we continue with any missions, we may look at artifact armor. And since we're at the level where we can get our artifact armor and wear our artifact armor, and it's actually pretty good for thief. We may take a pause from missions and just do an AF episode next time. But thanks again for being here. Enjoyed having you. Look forward to next time. So thanks and have a great day.